If you set up the room in the traditional rows, you're sending a physical message that what matters is you alone, not you in conversation or you with others. People talk to the faces they see, not to the backs of heads. So if you want to have a class climate where kids are attending to each other, listening to each other, they have to be able to see each other. So even the physical setup and getting student input on that is important. So let's talk about more, how do you get that culture of conversation where kids are listening and attending and responding to each other? That has to be shaped really deliberately. There are optimal states for learning. It's really about being curious, right? When we're curious about something, we delve into it more. Some people call that unanxious anticipation or relaxed alertness. Either way, it's not fear, right? You're not afraid of learning because then your brain is busy being vigilant, watching for cues about safety instead of being open to new material. And it's also not at the other end of the spectrum. It's not joy, which might be distracting all on its own. So we need to use techniques that foster curiosity and alertness, safety and comfort, not fear. Don't use cold calling. We all remember the moment, I'm sure, when we were called on, Michelle, answer this question. And that's not a good moment. You're waking someone up. That's one need. But the other need is having their brain engaged, and they're mutually exclusive. So you can name the next 4 kids you're going to call on, then discuss the question, and then ask the question. Everybody's alert, and now everybody has the chance to answer. So it's not about tricking the kids. Instead, imagine using recurring routines. This is an example of recurring routines of high interest, low threat mini conversations, whether those are in go rounds or in pair shares. We humans, we get into patterns. People who speak, people who are quiet, stay quiet. We sit in the same chairs. We get into patterns. The question is, will teachers shape those patterns? We want to shape the pattern so that more kids speak more equally, more honestly, and listen better. So if we use lots of small groups, lots of go-rounds, stand-up, sit-down exercises, over time, students participate more equally. A few additional techniques that encourage wide and effective participation, as opposed to only a few students speaking or debating, would include think time. It is so important to pause so that your fastest thinkers or your most impulsive talkers aren't always the first people in the conversation, and then everyone else just agrees or disagrees with them or lets it go. So pausing and giving think time is absolutely crucial. Another thing I've mentioned is small groups, but there are lots of other techniques. Talking lists, if you're in a conversation and everyone knows when they're getting their turn, they don't have to keep their hand up. They don't have to listen only for breathing to figure out when to interject. They can actually listen to what people are saying. There's also explicit discussions about discussions, boundaries around what to share, what not to share, agreements about listening, demonstrations and sentence stems about how to ask a question respectfully if you're disagreeing with someone or just want clarification, how to support individuals to set their own boundaries.
We want students to feel free to speak in class, and sometimes that means they also need to feel free not to speak. When we're asking questions to a whole group of people, and let's say a group of 30 people, and I'm asking a question, I might think it's a benign question, but at that point, it might be something for that student that feels a little soft, a little insecure, not sure how other people are going to respond. And it's really important students know that they can say, I'm just going to pass on this one, and not have to explain why. Obviously, if I have a student who's passing all the time, I'm going to speak to him or her at some point and say, how do I help make this space safer for you? I have found through my work that having the pass rule actually allows more students to speak, because they will have an opportunity to not speak if that's the condition that they need to be in.